In today's video, we're going to cover how to find the distance between 2 points without using the distance formula, and we'll check the answer using the formula itself. Let's say we have some point A at 2, 3. And then we also have point B at 5, 7. And now we need to find the distance between these 2 points. Here we have point A at 2, 3 and B at 5, 7. The distance we're looking for is between the 2 points. So if we're not using the distance formula, what we can do is think of this line segment as the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So we can form a nice right triangle just like this. So if you recall from the Pythagorean theorem, that tells us that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse. In this case, that's our distance from A to B. A and B in the equation are just the lengths of the legs of the triangle. So what we need to do is figure out how much in the x direction, left and right, we moved, as well as in the y or vertical direction. So in the horizontal direction, we went from an x value of 2 and moved over to 5. So this entire distance is 3. For the vertical move, we went from a y value of 3 up to 7, and that would be a total distance of 4. Now we have the two sides of a right triangle, and we can use Pythagorean theorem to find the third side, which is the hypotenuse, and also the distance between points A and B. The first side, 3, will square, plus the second side, 4, squared, is going to give us the hypotenuse squared. We'll call it d squared for now to represent distance squared. 3 squared is 9, plus 4 squared, 16, gives us 25. And then we need to square root the 25 to get our final result of 5. Since your teacher most likely will want you to use the formula, we'll prove that the distance we got is the same you would have gotten using the formula. Let's take a quick look at what the distance formula shows. And that's distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. All the distance formula is doing is finding the difference between the x values and y values, which is the same as finding how much you moved horizontally as well as vertically, just like we did up here. We're calling that point A was at 2, 3, and B was at 5, 7. We can use those points to plug into the formula to double check our result. As far as x1 versus x2, either x value could be x1 or 2, as long as you pair it with the appropriate y value. In other words, if 2 is our x1, then 3 is our y1. Therefore, if we made 5 here our x2, then 7 becomes y2. So the distance is the square root of x2, which was 5, minus x1, which was 2, squared, plus y2, which was 7, minus y1, which was 3, and also squared. Now we have the square root of 5 minus 2 is 3, so we have 3 squared, plus 7 minus 3 would be 4, so that becomes 4 squared, and that equals the square root of 9 plus 16, and we have to do the addition first before the square root. That gives us the square root of 25, which equals 5, the same answer we got earlier. Now let's look at a different example. Let's say point A is at -3, 7, and B is at 2, -5. Point A is at -3, 7 up here, and B is at 2, -5. Remember, the idea is to think of the line segment connecting A and B as the hypotenuse of a right triangle that we're going to create. And that looks like this. In our horizontal movement, we went from a -3 to a +2, so the total distance moved would be 5. And vertically, we went from 7 to -5. And that's a distance of 12. We can use Pythagorean theorem again. 5 squared plus 12 squared is the distance squared. 5 squared is 25, plus 12 squared, which is 144. And that equals 169. and we have to square root that, giving us a total distance of 13. Once more, let's prove that our answer is accurate using the formula itself. I'll label this x1, y1, and x2, y2. So the distance equals the square root of x2 is 2 minus x1, which is negative 3, so I'll put that in parentheses, squared, plus y2, which is negative 5, minus y1, which is 7. And we'll square that as well. So now we have the square root of 2 minus negative 3 is positive 5. So we have 5 squared, plus negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12. And that's also being squared. And that equals the square root of 25 plus 144. And just like before, we get the square root of 169, which equals 13. Now that you know how to find the distance between 2 points, you should check out how to find the midpoint between 2 points with this video here.